Like, if, I need you to come to me.
Right.
I mean, I know in hindsight now that was just, it wasn't the best way to handle it. But
I don't know. I don't know if I disagree with you. I think that was you needed that. But like you say, like it just gave him pathways to things. But I think you just absolutely needed that break.
Yeah, well, I felt like I needed to leave to know if I wanted to stay.
Yeah, agreed.
And I wanted to go to counseling, and we had enrolled in counseling, but then I did something to tick him off, and he canceled the counseling and decided that, I'd been going to counseling for years and it hadn't helped me any, so why would he go to counseling?
So he never went to counseling with you?
No. We did like a little 6-week thing. Okay. That was like an introductory kind of thing, and it basically, it was nothing. He just showed up to check that box.
Gotcha.
And yeah, so anyway, filed. So there was about, we lived separately for about a year before he met somebody, and then once he met somebody, he really didn't let go. It was kind of, that saying, the beatings will continue until morale improves.
Yeah.
It was kind of that thing. It's like, I'm going to continue to see her until you're no longer angry at me for betraying you.
I see.
Yeah. So I had to get over it. I was expected to compete for his love. His love was worth competing for.
So he flipped it round real quick.
Yeah.
Of course. Narcissist 101.
He found somebody that...
She tried to control the situation by moving out. Let me flip this around real fast.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And he just happened to find somebody who was broken enough to, to play along with his game.
Well, there's a lot of them out there. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand their relationship. It's still going on. It doesn't make any sense to me, but it's persisted. And apparently it's working. It's working for him, but it's apparently not working good enough because, just like in the last 2 weeks, he's been sending me messages saying he, never imagined, his life ending without me, and that he still dreams of us being together. And, now you're treating her just like you were me.
A puppet on a string.
What kind of a person is that you're in a 1.5-year relationship with somebody and you're sending messages like that to your now ex-wife?
A narcissist. We're going to take a quick tequila shot break. Because since we're talking about the 25 to 30 year mark, we need one. Wherever you are and whatever time of the day it is, you need to stop what you're doing and do a shot with us, okay? So we're doing tequila and it's about to happen, so cheers.
Cheers.
I feel like the more that we talk about this stuff, the more we just need to have a drink along the way.
It is, seriously. It is a little triggering.
I bet.
I mean, I know. I've been telling this, I actually I decided several months ago that I needed to stop telling this story because every time I told the story, it took me back into the rabbit hole.
Yeah, you're keeping yourself down.
Yeah.
However, I have to add to that. I know there's something healing in just getting it out. As horrible as it is, you reach the point where you say, I need to stop talking about it.
Yeah, I did get to a point where I was just tired of hearing myself talk about it.
Right.
But yes, there was a period of time. And
everyone does that.
I've done so much research about, emotional abuse and narcissistic abuse and everything. And I get that part of my compulsion to constantly tell the story was to get a validation from people that I was not nutty, that like I had actually gotten to a point before I left, before I filed for separation, probably, I'm going to say it was probably about 1.5 years before I finally did that, where I had a journal and I would start writing down our conversations after we'd have a conversation because I'd go back to it and, it would come back up and, oh no, you said this or you did that. And I'd be like, I have it right here. I wrote it down last time we talked.
Yeah.
And so the experience left me doubting myself, doubting my own reality, doubting reality in general. Like, he loved me, he protected me, he was mean, it's like even though
he was still a prisoner.
I'm not going to say that he was 100% evil. He wasn't. I mean, there was so much good. I was in love with what was good, and I filled in the blanks with everything else, and that's what kept me there. And sometimes, like even now, this is it's going to be about a year now. Sometimes I have days where I just I tried to describe how it feels. My counselor says it's grief. Like this is
totally grief.
This is what grief feels like, and this is the best way that I can explain it. It's like, have you ever been homesick?
Yeah.
Like you go somewhere and you want to go home so bad.
Yeah.
And you got that this heavy, dark feeling. It's like
you want to go back to the place of safety.
In your chest,
the comfort.
In your stomach, and like your head feels foggy, and sometimes it's hard to breathe because it's like an elephant is sitting on your chest. You're so and the sky everything feels black. It's a horrible, awful, terrible, scary feeling.
Yep.
I feel like I'm desperately homesick.
Yeah.
That's the day. And no matter if I wanted to go back to the house, I can't because he's burned it down. And
it's dead.
And it's dead. There's no house for me to go back to.
Yeah.
It's that's the best way I think I can just describe the feeling that I encounter. And it hits me like really hard, and sometimes in the worst place. Like last weekend I was with a group of girls that I've been hiking with for several years. Great, supportive, loving group of friends. And they know, like, we all have our shit, you know, like, and we know everybody's stuff, and I know they love me. It's a great supportive group of people.
That's so cool.
But there was a period of time in the afternoon that I broke away, and I went to the room, and I just laid in there because I was gonna cry. I just felt like I was gonna cry, and I knew if I was sitting out there among them and somebody looked over at me, they were gonna know that I was going to cry, and they were going to be like, "Are you okay?" Yeah. And when it's the minute they say, "Are you okay?" I was going to cry. Yeah. I just didn't want to do it. Yeah. So I mean, it still happens. I'm looking forward to the day that I forget that feeling. I hope it comes.
I hope so too, and I wish I could say, you'll get that. I hope you do. And I can tell you, at least from somebody that's 5 years ahead of you, that I don't have very many of those days at all anymore. I know we have a different story, different journey. I used to have a lot of those too, random. But every now and then, I still get them too. Depending on the situation, something triggered me, or if it's, with me, I have 3 young kids, so it's really through their eyes, and it's a different sort of grief. Oh, yeah. For me, it's, my ex recently relapsed. So, since my last episode, actually. So there's been a lot of things that have been drudged up, a lot of pain that's been brought back to the surface. Right. A lot of things I'm seeing through their, seeing through their eyes. So there's been some moments and some days where I've just had some reoccurring grief because it's the death of something. My point to the grief aspect is it's real. It gets easier. Like anyone that says they lose somebody in their life, there's a hole that's always there. Right. It's never filled. Mm-hmm. However, it gets easier with time, and you learn to live with that. Like, that's what I've heard people say to people when they've, lost somebody close to them.
It seems like it's even harder though, divorce though. It's like, if somebody passes away, they're gone. And then you can just focus on all the goods that you had.
This
guy's not gone. He's like part of my social circle. Yeah. I have to
he's decide. Gone, but he's not.
I have to decide whether I want to participate in certain activities that I would love to participate in, because sometimes I just don't want to be around him. Sometimes, and there's the very real possibility that one of these times I'm going to go to an event, and he's going to show up with this woman that he would not have even met if I hadn't taken him into my circle, of friends.
Yeah. What am I going to deal with?
I just don't want to put myself in that situation. Yeah. I would love to go to these events. I would love to enjoy the friend group that I have. Yeah. But I'm not, it's not going to be the same experience now. He's, he hopped in my pool and peed in it. Right. And that was very, and kind of to go back a little bit about things that trigger you. I recently had a hip replacement. Mm-hmm. And that's
like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
right?
3 weeks, three and a half weeks ago. Yeah, just like 3 weeks ago. It was 3 weeks ago last Thursday. So, and that was really triggering for me because, you know, I'm like, I've got all this time on my hand because I'm sitting around just healing and I'm taking these drugs and, you know, for pain and everything. And I'm feeling really kind of pissy. I'm feeling really pissy because since he started seeing his quote unquote friend, he's been, you know, like Mr. 2.0, you know, he's been the upgraded version of him. Had he been, before I left, I probably wouldn't have left, but, I guess it took him meeting somebody else to you know, inspire him to behave nice to me. So, you know, he came to me before my surgery and he offered to take a week off of work and come help take care of me. And, you know, how sweet is that?
Right.
That is so nice. But you know what? Screw that. I wanted a loving, devoted husband to help me through this in my life, not somebody else's special friend.
Right.
You know? So, like, what's the point?
Right.
And so then I struggle with, yes, I would love to have him there.
Yeah, of course.
Because I love him. You know, like even with everything that's gone on,
doesn't stop.
It's crazy. But I still love him and I still miss him and I would have loved to have him there with me.
Of course, yeah.
And maybe it's me being too prideful. Maybe it's my ego. Whatever. I just don't see the point.
No.
I don't see the point of him sitting there with me while he's texting his girlfriend.
Because you know that, right, you know what the next step is, which is that.
Like,
you've been there before.
Yeah, like what's the point?
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, if you wanted to be there, if you want to, you know, he's like, I'll always be here for you. Don't. Like, if you're always going to be there for me, you should have always been there for me.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about triggering things. That was a very big trigger for me over just like the last couple weeks because I'm angry. I'm angry that I don't have my husband to help me through this particular point in my life that, you know, I invested almost 31 years of my life. I invested almost 31 years of my life. And I deserve to have my husband, my loving, devoted husband, helping me through this particular little, you know, I mean, this, you know, it's a major surgery and I don't have that, you know, and it's been kind of a rabbit hole that I've been crawling out of over the last week.
Well, that's one of the first. Like, okay, back to the topic of the episode, surviving the firsts. You went through your first major surgery without your husband by your side, and that's not easy. I also, in 2016, had my back surgery I was talking about. My ex-husband was at that time my ex-husband. And he had 4 back surgeries at the last 2 years of our marriage. And I was by his side in every single one of them. When he woke up, holding his hand, wiping his butt.
Right.
Like putting ice in his mouth, wiping it, you know, and even when he was crying in pain and wanting to go back for more meds, I was the one taking him. And when I had my surgery, and mind you, he was really active in his addiction, not a single text, call, visit, nothing. Like nothing. And when I was so high on my Percocets, I was like pissed. And I remember...
they gave me Percocet too, and I think that had something to do with it.
It adds to the like, wait a minute, how am I doing this alone? I remember emailing him some rant. Like, I used to be like, man, when he sent drugs, he would send some real ranting. I was ranting on at him, like, you're a piece of... Like, I remember emailing him, because that was really the only way I could get hold of him. Then, you know, he was in the streets. I'd email him some serious, wrath. Like, I was so mad. But just... I relate to your story about that because I've been there. Like, man, my mom was there with me, thankfully, and you had your family with you.
I had my son, my 22-year-old son, and it is really my kids are. Oh my God, they're so amazing.
They're your family.
They're like, you know, he took me, he picked me up. He like lapsed into nurse mode. He had all my medications like on schedule, and he had me doing
good job,
my exercise.
Mom.
Like
he raised a good
seriously,
boy.
Such a great kid.
Yeah.
And then my daughter, she's a teacher, so she couldn't be there during the week, but she relieved him for the weekend, and it was a long weekend, so. They did like the changing of shift and it, you know, it's like my kids they made it all worth it. Like I don't
all
care.
You need
like they are the reason for putting up with all of it. You know, like
good.
They make it worthwhile. You know, when I really focus on that.
Mm-hmm. I asked a couple of friends of mine that were single moms to do this interview, and a lot of them said they were not comfortable doing it because it's just literally too painful to think back to that time, or it was a blur and they purposefully don't remember it. Because we're pouring another shot, you guys.
Truth serum.
Yeah. Literally, I get that it's hard to remember. That's why I realized I have to get somebody fresh in it to get some thoughts